A federal judge just blocked DHS from ending temporary protected status, TPS, for Ethiopian nationals. This court ruling temporarily stops the planned TPS termination that was set to expire in February 2026. In this video, we break down what this federal ruling means for TPS holders, how it affects work authorization, deportation protections, and what steps you should take right now. We also explain how this fits into the broader pattern of immigration court challenges against Washington's enforcement decisions. Stay informed with the latest U.S. immigration news, USCIS updates, TPS news, and federal court rulings affecting immigrants in 2025. Subscribe for daily immigration updates covering green cards, work visas, family-based petitions, and humanitarian protections. Dorin Ars Tags. TPS termination blocked. Ethiopia TPS update 2025. Federal court blocks deportation. TPS work authorization. Temporary protected status news. U.S. immigration news today. USCIS update 2025. DHS TPS termination. Immigration court ruling. TPS Ethiopia 2026. Deportation protection update. Federal judge immigration ruling. TPS holders work permit. Immigration Policy Changes 2025, Humanitarian Protection USA, Immigration News Today, Green Card Update, H-1B Visa News, Family Immigration Update, USCIS Processing Times. Years, Keywords, TPS Termination, Ethiopia TPS, Federal Court Ruling Immigration, Deportation Protection Blocked, USCIS TPS Update, DHS Deportation Plan, Temporary Protected Status 2025, Immigration Court Challenge, Work Authorization TPS, Immigration Policy Update, Federal Judge Blocks, TPS Termination, TPS Renewal, U.S. Immigration News, Nyan Rewritten Script, Same Tone, Same Language, Same Word Count, Paragraph Format. Engaging Hook. A federal judge just stepped in and blocked a major deportation move coming straight out of Washington. Thousands of immigrants who thought they were about to lose everything, their work permits, their legal presence, their entire lives built in America, just got an unexpected lifeline. But here is the catch. This protection is only temporary, and what happens next could change everything. If you or someone you know holds temporary protected status, you cannot afford to miss what we are about to tell you. Hello everyone, welcome to the U.S. Immigration News. Before we dive into today's critical update, it is essential to recognize the bigger picture unfolding right now. Immigration policy decisions emerging from Washington are shifting rapidly, and many of these shifts are directly impacting individuals who are already established, living and working inside the United States. These developments are not limited to enforcement actions alone. They involve how legal protections are granted, how critical deadlines are determined, and how much advance warning families and employers actually receive before sweeping changes go into effect. For countless immigrants, even minor policy adjustments can disrupt employment authorization, affect lawful presence, and derail long-term plans connected to USCIS filings and processing schedules. Today, we are covering a significant court-related development involving a federal ruling that has halted a deportation-related action originating from Washington. This decision does not rewrite immigration law entirely, but it does temporarily prevent a federal action from advancing while legal objections are carefully examined. Rulings like these carry real weight because they determine how immigration policies function in practice, particularly for individuals depending on temporary legal protections. If this topic matters to you, please watch through to the end of the video. If you find this content valuable, please press the bell icon, subscribe to our channel, and leave a like so that future updates are delivered directly to your smartphone. Now, let us move into the details. The ruling we are examining today was issued by a federal court, not by an immigration judge within the immigration court framework. That distinction is critically important. Immigration judges function under the Department of Justice and preside over individual removal proceedings. Federal district court judges, however, evaluate whether actions carried out by federal agencies align with existing law and follow mandatory procedures. In this particular situation, a federal judge temporarily prevented the Department of Homeland Security from rescinding a deportation protection that covered thousands of people. The protection in question is Temporary Protected Status, widely referred to as TPS. TPS permits individuals from designated countries to stay in the United States and maintain legal work authorization when conditions in their home nations are deemed dangerous due to armed conflict, natural disasters, or other extraordinary situations. The specific government action that was halted involved the planned cancellation of TPS for nationals of Ethiopia. DHS had publicly announced its intention to terminate the Ethiopia TPS designation, with protections set to lapse in February 2026. Under that termination notice, individuals whose lawful presence depended exclusively on TPS would ultimately lose their work authorization and could face removal proceedings if no alternative legal status was available to them. A legal challenge was filed contesting that termination decision. The plaintiffs in the case argued that the government failed to properly justify its decision, neglected to adequately assess the current conditions inside Ethiopia, and offered insufficient time for affected individuals to prepare for the elimination of their protections. The lawsuit was filed before a federal judge in Massachusetts, even though the policy itself originated in Washington, because federal agencies can face legal challenges in courts throughout the country. After examining the initial filings and arguments, the judge issued an order temporarily suspending the termination of TPS for Ethiopians. This effectively means the government is barred from proceeding with ending the protection on the previously announced timeline while the court conducts a deeper review of the case. It is crucial to understand precisely what this ruling accomplishes and what it does not. The ruling does not confer permanent legal status on anyone. It does not establish a new immigration benefit. It does not automatically halt all deportation actions. What it does accomplish is freezing a specific agency decision, so the court has adequate opportunity to determine whether proper legal procedures were observed. For individuals covered under this TPS designation, the delay ensures that their current protections stay intact for the time being. Work authorization linked to TPS is not immediately revoked, and individuals are not abruptly placed into removal proceedings simply because the original termination deadline arrives. This pause provides the court sufficient time to scrutinize the government's reasoning and the supporting evidence behind the termination decision. From a broader policy standpoint, this ruling aligns with a growing pattern visible across the entire immigration system. Over recent months, multiple federal courts have been called upon to review DHS decisions that curtail or eliminate humanitarian protections. In certain instances, courts have permitted the government to move forward with its plans. In other cases, courts have mandated delays, pointing to concerns about proper procedure, adequate timing, or sufficient justification. These legal battles frequently center on administrative law principles rather than immigration law itself. Judges assessed whether agencies completed required steps, offered adequate explanations, and took relevant facts into consideration. When courts determine that these standards may have been violated, they possess the authority to temporarily block an action while litigation continues. For immigrants closely following these developments, the situation can feel overwhelming and confusing. Many people naturally assume that immigration outcomes are determined exclusively by enforcement agencies. The reality is that courts play an indispensable role in shaping how policies are enforced and whether they can be implemented as originally planned. This also carries consequences far beyond TPS holders themselves. When substantial numbers of people are suddenly at risk of losing lawful presence, the effects cascade throughout the entire system. Immigration courts experience surging caseloads. USCIS workloads undergo dramatic shifts. Employers confront uncertainty regarding their workers' authorization status. Families encounter delays and disruptions that reverberate into other areas of the immigration process. For instance, individuals who lose their status may subsequently pursue relief through family-based petitions, employment-based filings, or other legal avenues that can influence USCIS processing timelines, trigger additional requests for evidence, and slow adjudications across all categories. Cases pending at the NVC can also be affected when applicants' circumstances change without warning. That is precisely why court rulings like this one matter even to individuals who are not personally covered by TPS. They shape the overall landscape in which all immigration decisions are rendered. It is equally important to recognize that this ruling remains temporary in nature. The court has not yet delivered a final determination on whether the TPS termination is legally valid. DHS retains the opportunity to present additional records and legal arguments to justify its action. The judge may ultimately allow the termination to proceed, extend the block for a longer duration, or issue entirely different instructions depending on what the law demands. For individuals directly affected by this decision, the practical message is clear: preparation. A pause represents borrowed time, not a permanent resolution. People should continue closely monitoring official USCIS announcements, court filings, and updated legal guidance. Maintaining thorough documentation, staying current on work authorization renewals where applicable, and exploring alternative immigration options can prove essential during these extended periods of uncertainty for both families and employers. This ruling reinforces the critical importance of planning for multiple possible outcomes. Immigration policy changes can accelerate without warning, but judicial review can slow their implementation. Understanding where a case stands, which protections currently apply, and what deadlines are approaching can significantly reduce risk when policies shift unexpectedly. From Washington's perspective, this case illuminates the ongoing tension between aggressive enforcement priorities and fundamental administrative requirements. Federal agencies undeniably possess the authority to make consequential immigration decisions, but that authority must be exercised within established legal boundaries. Courts exist as a constitutional check when those boundaries are called into question. As this case progresses through the legal system, key questions will include what evidence DHS submits to support its termination decision, how the court evaluates present-day conditions inside Ethiopia, and whether the termination process satisfied all administrative law requirements. The final outcome will likely influence how future TPS decisions are approached and how much notice and justification the government must provide going forward. We will continue tracking this case closely alongside other ongoing court challenges involving deportation protections, parole programs, and various forms of humanitarian relief. These legal proceedings typically unfold over weeks or months, and individual updates can affect thousands of people simultaneously. For viewers currently navigating the immigration system, the single most important step is staying informed through credible and reliable sources and understanding how court rulings intersect with agency actions. Immigration outcomes are almost never determined by a single announcement. They are the product of policies, procedures, and legal review operating together. Sometimes the process moves slowly, but the real-world impact on lives and families is always significant. That is everything we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration News Channel delivers all essential visa information and procedural guidance for your U.S. immigration journey. It is vital to understand United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, current processing times, required forms, applicable fees, and much more. We will continue providing comprehensive information about U.S. visitor visas, including B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas including EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visa categories. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.